feeling a lot of anxiety, stress, and overwhelm related to the current events, then I'm making this video in hopes of helping you get to thoughts that are more empowered and calm. So I'm a mindset manifestation coach, so what I do is help people harness the power of their thoughts to manifest their dream lives. And I would love to help you through this time. So with everything going on, of course, things are very serious and your feelings are totally natural and valid. That being said though, being in a place of panic and fear doesn't really do very much to support your highest good or the good of others. So when you've processed these feelings of overwhelm and anxiety and you are ready to get to a place that is based more in your strength, kindness, and love, then follow the tips in this video and it will help shift your mindset out of that overwhelm and into a more stronger place. Personally, I believe that coming from a place and with the intention of strength, kindness, and love is the best way that you can support your own highest good as well as the highest good of your loved ones and community. Of course, as a baseline, it is important for us to take everything very seriously, for us to be knowledgeable about what's going on and do our part, do our social distancing and all of that. But beyond that, what happens when it's just you alone with your thoughts? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. So let's just jump straight in. The first tip I have for you is to actually just let yourself feel whatever feelings are coming up without judgment. Any feelings that come up, whether you're feeling stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, or if you're feeling calm and relaxed, everything is okay. We are humans and we have natural responses to things, and our feelings may be all over the place. None of us have really experienced something at this level before. And of course, there's no real guidebook or golden rule way for us to deal with these things. Another thing I want you to remember is that you are not necessarily your thoughts. You are yourself having certain thoughts. That's kind of one thing that helps keep me a little bit more grounded, and hopefully that helps you as well. The thing with these kinds of thoughts is that we just don't want to wallow in them and really spiral into feelings that are more on the negative side. So let yourself feel whatever comes up without judgment, but when you're ready to move on to better feeling thoughts that are more supportive of your highest good, you can release these. However that works for you. I find that even just using an affirmation sort of sets the intention and declares my intention to release specific thoughts and feelings. And you can do this by using an affirmation like, I release thoughts that do not serve me, and I choose thoughts that do serve my highest good. You can say this as many times as you want. Sometimes I find it helpful whenever I've got repetitive negative thoughts and feelings coming up that I want to shift away from. Whenever I experience them, I just reaffirm, and it just kind of helps push my mind to think more in the direction that I'm trying to go. My second tip is to be informed enough. Dr. Jana Scrivani, a clinical psychologist, says, being tuned into the 24-hour news cycle may fuel a lot of negative feelings like anxiety, sadness, and hopelessness. So the thing is, consuming information, being informed, this is great, but you also want to be in touch with yourself and pay attention to when you're starting to feel like the information is overwhelming. Sometimes certain news articles can be written in a certain way that triggers more of your fear-based thinking, and just try to pay attention to that kind of thing and just make sure that you're taking the important information you need, but not getting the overwhelming part along with it. I have 3 tips for staying informed without the overwhelm. The first tip is to check the news once a day. So I know sometimes with the constant news cycle and constant updates, it can be easy to look for updates all the time, but sometimes when we are getting the information too much, it's just giving us too much information that we don't really need, because it's not really going to give us any new critical information, and it's not going to change the way that we need to operate to make sure that we were being responsible citizens. And instead what it's doing is just kind of creating more fear around your thinking about what's going on with current events. A second tip is to only get information from trusted sources, because there is a lot of misinformation being spread around, and there's also a lot of, I think, fear-based tactics are one way that some people write headlines to get your attention. And so these kinds of things are meant to scare you, to get your attention, to get you to click on it. And a lot of times these articles really are just sort of I don't want to say clickbait, I mean some of them could be clickbait, but you just really want to make sure that, especially if you're triggered by too much news or fear kind of news-based articles, that you try to avoid these things in favor of more just factual facts and things that we know to be valid and true. And a third suggestion is, if you're finding that looking at the news and getting updates is just overwhelming completely, you can ask a friend or loved one or trusted person to just sort of give you the download, like let you know when and if there's new information and what that information is. That way you're staying informed without looking at all of the potentially triggering news headlines and whatever else is out there. And with this tip, and really with all of the tips, it's good to be really intentional with what you're doing. So you can check the news in a panic. You can be like, oh my God, I'm freaking out about everything. Like, what else is happening? And you can check it in more of that fear intention, or you can check it from a place of love, strength, and kindness, which is more like, I want to make sure I'm doing my part to protect my loved ones, to protect my community, so that I know that I'm doing my part to be supportive of my community in the best way possible. The third tip, and this one is a big one for me, and it may be a big one for a lot of you guys, but it's to draw a distinction between what is in your control and what is outside of your control. One thing I'm hearing a lot from people is that you're getting really worked up about the different things that are going on around the world, whether it's like the fact that we have to be stuck inside, the fact that medical workers are running out of face masks, the fact that teenagers are going on spring breaks in the midst of social distancing being the best practices that have been communicated by a lot of places in the world by now. And I know that those things are very frustrating, but at the end of the day, getting yourself worked up about things that are outside of your control really just lowers your vibe and makes you feel bad without actually impacting the situation in a positive way. So when it comes to whatever's going on around you, you want to make sure that you are paying attention and acknowledging what is within your control and what's outside of your control, drawing that distinction, and then releasing what's outside of your control and focusing on what is inside of your control. So one way that you can draw this distinction is by, whenever you're getting upset about something or getting worked up about something, just ask yourself, is there anything I can do about this? So for example, if you're upset about medical workers running out of face masks, if you have an extra box of face masks, you can donate that to a hospital. But if you have no connection to any face mask companies, you don't have any face masks on yourself, there's really not that much you can do about it other than maybe posting on your social media that your local hospital is looking for face masks and maybe help them gather them through connections that you have. After that though, there's really no point in getting worked up about it, only because it's not going to help the situation if you were upset about it, and there's no action you can take on it. But definitely do ask if there's anything you can do to help out with any situations that may be in your circle. Another example of this is you may be really frustrated that you have to be stuck inside your home, but we really don't get to decide whether or not we are doing a shelter in place. That's really more of a government decision, and so unfortunately, we can't decide if we are stuck at home, but what we can choose is the quality of the time that we are spending at home. So it's much more empowering to focus on what is within your control and try to make the quality of time that you're staying in your home as best as possible. Whether that is doing relaxing things, doing productive things, that is up to you. And again, that is your area of control to make decisions with. The fourth tip is to remember to belly breathe. So your breath is actually an incredible resource that you have available to you to help you calm yourself down. The thing is, when we get really stressed out, we start to do what's called chest breathing. So when you are doing natural, relaxed, calm breathing, you're actually doing what's called belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, which is where you're actually breathing from within your stomach area, which is why whenever you've done yoga or meditation classes, they may tell you to do belly breathing or may direct you to fill your belly with air. When we get really stressed out, we start to take shorter chest breaths. The breaths are more up here. You may even notice that your chest can rise and fall with your breathing. And this is a good way to tell your stress levels, but you can also work with this breath to calm your body down, which again is why they do that belly breathing in your yoga and meditation classes, because the belly breathing has a connection to the relaxation in your actual body. So the next time that you are feeling stressed out, you can even just simply take a deep breath in and a deep breath out and just really enjoy that breath. Try to not rush it, try to enjoy it. And a simple act of breathing like that can really help you calm down almost instantly. If you do want to take it to the next level, you can try that belly breathing. So the thing you want to do is when you're breathing in, try to push the air into your belly area. And when you're breathing out, try to push the air out from your belly again. And just, you can even kind of look at your belly while you're breathing to see if you're doing it. And just enjoy the act of your belly breathing and do it for whatever time period is comfortable for you. Maybe you want to set a timer for 2 minutes or 5 minutes. You'd be surprised how much more calm you can feel after even such a short period of time belly breathing as that. A third thing you can do is use an app like Calm. I'm not sure which other ones do it, but I know there are other options out there, but they actually have breathing counters. So it will help you take more of those deep, relaxed breathing. I can show you the Calm one, what that one looks like really quick. And this just helps you get into that relaxed breathing. And you can set a timer on the app for how long you want to practice this breathing exercise. And if you want to take all this breathing even further, you can do meditation. But another thing you can do with the breathing is, again, use an affirmation to further your intention and really set a strong intention with what you're doing with this breath. You could say an affirmation like, with this breath, I am bringing calm, peace, and relaxation to my mind, body, and soul. The fifth thing you can do is focus on the good. So I know when there are difficult times going on, a lot of times it seems like the news is just focusing on all the things that are going wrong, and it seems like all the bad parts of society are coming out and acting out and doing silly things that are really frustrating. But at the end of the day, there also are a lot of good things that don't always get as much media attention necessarily, and you can definitely find these things if you're looking for them. It kind of reminds me of the famous Mr. Rogers quote, where he says, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.'" And I love that, and I found that to be so true. And I just love hearing the good, positive news stories. There are some Instagram accounts I've been following recently who are posting really uplifting, happy stories. And it's been really good to see that despite the seriousness of everything, that there are still good things happening. It's not all bad, and this balance kind of will help keep you from falling further into negative thoughts and seeing that there are still good things happening to help balance out everything. So focusing on the good reminds me that even when times are very difficult, that there are still beacons of hope and still good things happening. And if you want a list of those Instagram accounts, I have put those into what I'm calling a high vibe turbulent times support guide, where I've gathered a lot of resources to help you guys get through this time, and I'll leave the link for that in the description box below so you can get those good news Instagram accounts as well as a bunch of other resources to support you. Just a couple good things that popped to my mind that I've seen recently. There was a story on the Lightworkers account about how there was a family trying to check out at Target and they couldn't actually buy their groceries, and a woman apparently came out of nowhere and just bought their groceries for them, no questions asked. There are balcony parties happening all over the world that are really interesting, and so it's just nice to see communities coming together despite not being able to be physically together. They can still spend quality time and just send good energy to each other. And I think another one on Lightworkers was there was a couple who actually bought some coconut candy from a street vendor, and the candy was supposed to cost $1, but they ended up paying $100, and they said that it was because they knew that he wasn't going to be making as many sales as possible, and the man started crying, and it was just really touching and just so good to see that there are so many people out there with such kind hearts going out and just doing such good things. And it definitely inspires me to ask myself what else I can do to support others in this time. Number 6, you can say, "This is good because." So we've already established, for example, that we can't control whether or not we are stuck at home, but we can choose the quality of time we're spending at home. So rather than just being mopey and being pissed off that we're stuck at home, what you can do is just ask yourself, or say, "This is good because," and then come up with some ideas for reasons that it's good for you to be at your home. I find that this approach is just a lot more empowering and reminds me that in every situation there is something good still that we can find if we choose to look for it. So just some examples of reasons that it's good for you to be at home. You have more time to relax. You can spend more quality time with your family. You can finish that book that you bought a while back or maybe last year. You can have a movie marathon day. You can use this time for productivity and do some self-work. I will be working on some lists of things you can do while you're stuck at home, so I'll have some more ideas coming for you, but just try to ask yourself what good you can find in your current situation. This should help you feel, instead of out of control, like you are feeling more empowered, and you can hopefully operate from a place of strength, love, and kindness. And my 7th tip is to practice gratitude. Now, it may seem like a weird time to practice gratitude with all of these serious things that are happening around the world, but I actually think this is an even more important time to practice gratitude, because when you are focused on lack, it creates more low vibe feelings of scarcity and fear. When you are focused on gratitude, you raise your vibe and you get into better feeling thoughts and more thoughts of abundance. And I also do believe in like the greater consciousness of all of us. And just imagine if we were all practicing gratitude, how we could lift the consciousness of the world through all of our individual gratitude practices. How cool would that be? And there are even clinical studies that show that practicing gratitude can help improve your immune system. But beyond that, gratitude has seriously helped me through some really, really dark times, and it's helped get me into better feeling. And because of how gratitude has changed my life, I am just such a big believer in the power of practicing your gratitude on a regular basis. So this can be as simple as just every day picking one thing that you're grateful for and letting yourself feel into the energy of appreciation for that thing. I do have a couple of videos about how to practice gratitude, and I will link those in the description box below as well if you would like to learn more about how to start a gratitude practice. But gratitude is definitely a good way to shift out of those feelings of overwhelm and back into feelings of strength, love, and kindness. So if you found this video helpful, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, consider subscribing. And if you think someone would benefit from these tips, please do share this video with them. I really want to help as many people as possible, and if you spread this message with others, hopefully we can get even more people out of that overwhelm, stress, anxiety feeling place into much more empowered and calm feeling place. If you have any tips that you'd like to share on what helps you shift away from overwhelm and into empowered thinking, definitely comment those below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.